Hello, good afternoon, good evening, and good day, wherever you're joining us from. This is your number one show, the Naija We Want. Joining me is Mr. Wale Olaitan, our intercontinental moderator. Welcome, Mr. Wale Olaitan.
Dr. Vicky O, it's good to be back
Yes,
on our number one
yes,
show, the Nigeria
the
we
Nigeria
want.
We Want. Mm. I think Elvis said he will be joining us, so let's send him a reminder. Oh, our producer was here just a few minutes ago, so hopefully Elvis will be joining us soon. Okay, so how's the week been for you?
Um,
Okay.
just same. If I put it that way, just normal working week.
Mm,
Always, a busy week. Yeah. And this morning I just felt, thank God it's Friday, and we can just start the weekend and look forward to other things that plan for
yeah,
the weekend. So nothing so
family
exciting,
stuff.
just normal
Mm,
normal work and just a few
mm,
commitments in between.
yeah, yep. Welcome, Mr. Elvis Nwachukwu. We can't hear you. We can't hear you. Oh, all right.
Okay.
Yes. Okay. So, we have a topic. Mr. Elvis, can you hear us? Still, we can't hear you. Okay.
Okay,
It's
maybe he's
go
trying to
up and
fix it at his
yes,
end.
yes.
Yeah.
All right. So, what has been in the news for you? What's trending on your
Oh,
side?
okay. Yeah, what is trending for me has to do with the creative industry. Uh, Aside politics, current affairs, I love creative industry. I love movies. I love music, and I do check that from time to time, whatever is on
Mm,
Netflix and all that. So because of that, I'm very conversant with most of the new artists, like entertainers and their songs.
mm,
And also I've got young, she got a teenager and an adult, and so my kids are spread across different areas. So as a cool dad, I do follow some of the songs as well. I need to
mm-hmm.
tell them, have you checked out this guy? He's got a new song. He's a Nigerian. He's from South Africa. So what is trending for me actually is the sad death of Ilerioluwa Oladimeji, Aloba, aka Mobad. I do follow his song. There's something about him, his voice. I just love his songs, and his presentation. So I got the news. I was actually on the work. I was on the train to the city on Wednesday morning, our local time here,
Mm,
when the news broke in Nigeria on Tuesday night
mm-hmm.
that he passed age 27. It was really, by all accounts, very, very sad. And then I had to check, obviously, Facebook and online to see, and you can see the pour of emotions everywhere. And obviously, there are issues around what transpired since he left his last label, Malian's Records. It was with that record, and now that happened, now they went their separate ways in 2022, and some of the alleged molestation and threats from that quarter, allegedly from that quarter, and I've seen a lot of videos and comments around that. Yeah, so that really, since that Wednesday, that has been a trending topic for me. I actually had to pay tribute to him. There's one of his songs. There's one I really like, one he called "Sorry." Just a kind of an apology to his parents. He was telling that song about how his dad, put all this money together to send him to Polytechnic, but it was there. He wasn't really going to class. It was just doing yahoo yahoo, and then so that song in particular touched me because we can all flash back and remember when we were young, when we were in university, when the parents sent us to go and do certain things, and we're doing something different. I can really feel that. I spend most of my time outside classroom doing politics and doing some other stuff rather than doing what I was actually asked to do when I was in uni. So that particular song really touched me. And yeah, so just two things for me. One, the need for them to have mentors. To have mentors in the industry and to have good mentors outside the industry. Mentors that will be able to set them up with expectations and how to manage their expectations. Mentors around where to invest their money when they have the money, so that they won't have this delusion that they're going to be there forever, that they're going to be on top of that game forever. Some people were there before them. They need to be able to manage their money. They need to have mentors outside the industry, and also they need to have people to talk to them about mental health and drug abuse. Though I don't want to really comment deeply, but with some of the things I've read and a few videos, I can come to conclusion that there are issues around mental health. There are issues around substance abuse. And there are issues around managing expectations, especially when he fell out with Malians, the music label that brought him to limelight. So that's a very sad thing, May so rest in peace. I really love his songs, especially
Now,
the one.
I mean, I don't really know much about. I don't know him at all. I don't even know Mali. I don't know any of those. So yeah, it's been on Facebook a lot. So was he killed? Did he commit suicide? What really happened?
Based on what I've read, there's no definite cause of death. I'm not aware whether there was any autopsy before he was rushed to the hospital. That information is very sketchy. But looking back, you can see the pattern. Some of his close friends, made reference to him being suicidal. He made reference to committing suicide with some of his friends. There were issues around that social isolation, especially when he left Malian's records, and the alleged kind of threats and intimidation and harassment from that. He was kind of cut off from that industry. He wasn't going to promote. He was kind of, in a way, cut off from that mainstream in terms of going to big shows and all that. But he was still doing his own thing, recording his own songs. But I think part of the issue, in my opinion, was that, not able or not having mentors for them to manage their expectations around success and the other side of success. But in terms of the actual cause of death, I don't really know. All I read was that he was rushed to hospital. He had some other health issues, and then in that process it died. But that information is very sketchy.
I heard that some people burnt down Mali's house.
Fake news.
That's a fake news.
Oh, okay.
That video was from somewhere in South Africa. So they marked the video from South Africa. You could see the firefighter. You could see what they were even speaking.
The language.
Yeah, not in Nigerian language.
Just to add, I understand there was a bit of depression there too. So all of these issues you highlighted may have led the young man to, having mental health issues, becoming depressed, and who knows what. Yeah. So it's a sad one. Anyway.
So, welcome, Mr. Elvis. Egbon. Mr. Yemi Shodimu, welcome to the show tonight.
Thank you so much. Nice to see you guys.
Nice to see you too. So what's trending for you, Elvis?
All right. Look, it's good practice to rehearse 1, 2, or 3 topics before you come on the show. Wale beat me to it, the more bad one.
Okay.
Anyway, I've got another one that is trending for me. So, President Tinubu just returned from a trip to India and the United Arab Emirates. One thing resonates for me, stands out, the fact that he met with the Emirati leader and then discussed issues around the travel ban on Nigerians and also the airliners not flying into and out of Nigeria. So I understand they've reached an understanding where the ban has been lifted. Nigerians are free to travel to and fro Dubai, and also those airliners will resume their operations, which is a plus. Quickly, second one that is trending for me relates to Egmon's industry. So, anyway,
Okay.
it's to do with Moyo Lawal. We've seen the videos flying around, or we've heard about the videos flying around. So, I don't know what's happening in that space. X-rated videos somehow found its way to the social media. I'm not sure. The pundits have, some people have said, look, it was intentional. They're trying to obviously they're chasing the clouds, gain more popularity. We had that similar incident with Tiwa Savage. It's becoming common in the industry now. So I came across that one, and it's huge. The different stories. She said, it was a guy who promised her marriage, and this guy I learned has also denied. No, I was paid to do it. She knew it was going out there, and so maybe Egbon knows better. I don't. What do I know?
Egbon.
Elvis, thank you. Elvis, thank you for putting me on the spot.
That's your industry now.
It's your industry, so my information, the information I have could be secondhand. I think you have the first-hand information. So
first row.
Yeah.
And Egbon is not just a person in that industry. Egbon is an elder. Egbon is an elder. Egbon is his father Gio.
I don't know how I found myself in this position this morning. This obviously a gang up, but it is okay.
It is well.
But let me say this categorically. Moya wasn't chasing clout with it.
Okay.
She wasn't. Some things are not very, very clear about that incident in terms of the source of leakage, right? But I can tell you categorically that recording was not meant to chase clouds. I don't know what level of madness has come over a number of our young ones, where they have these intimate things and they record. I guess maybe they psych themselves up with it later or whatever it is. But it was one exercise gone wrong. We are yet to hear the last of that, but I can say that Muyo is very, very sober about it. I've had discussions with her. She's very, very sober about it. She regrets having gone that route. And we all seen one way or the other. I hope she gets out of this. The only thing I can say categorically is that it wasn't meant to chase cloud. But At that level, you will be ready to take responsibility for your action because you knew that putting that thing on camera, it could get to any hands. I can also tell you categorically that that recording was done with the guy's phone, to her knowledge.
Yep.
That was one of the things I wanted to find out, and which I did. It was recorded with the guy's phone, and I don't know, they've had some issues in between them. But when at a point you lose your head and you go ahead, you do the wrong thing, you should be ready to pay the price for it. That's far as the issue is concerned.
And anyone that said that one will have first-hand information. See, you've just cleared the air.
Okay. The thing is, I mean, we had a production that she featured in, and I'll tell you, she's a fantastic actress. She's a fantastic actress. This was the last thing we expected, but that is as far as my own comment about it. To this gang, that's what I can say to this gang. The other advice, I was going to give, is to Dr. Vicky. Kindly update your repertoire on Nigerian entertainment, particularly music. Don't be restricted to all those your praise songs, which you have betrayed this morning. It's just my piece of advice to you. I think the show should go on.
All right, Egbon. Let's get into today's show, Mr. Wale Olaitan.
Thank you, Dr. Vicky, to the rest of the team. On today's show, we'll be discussing issues around access to education in Nigeria with a specific topic: students, parents, groan as public universities hike school fees. As always, courtesy of our producer, Mr. Alabi, I'll provide a quick background information to today's topic. Despite a long-standing policy in Nigeria that federal government-owned universities remain tuition-free, many Nigerian universities owned by the federal government have increased fees to be paid by students in the past few months, leaving students, parents, and guardians groaning. For instance, University of Lagos, UNILAG, University of Jos, University of Maiduguri, University of Benin, Abubakar Tafawa Balewa University, Bauchi, University of Abuja, among others, have increased fees, some of them by more than 100%. The management of some of the universities blame this on the removal of subsidy on petrol, which has increased the price of commodities in the country. The development has pitched the students against their university management, prompting them to embark on protest, while many Nigerians accuse the government of insensitivity. But the government insisted that despite the increment in fees, students in universities owned by the federal government are not paying tuition, so as Nigerians can have access to quality tertiary education. So, how will student parents and guardians cope with the new hike in school fees by university? So, thank you, Mr. Adi, for that background information. Without further ado, I throw this to the panelists. We start. Just give you just 90 seconds each, just to quickly respond. What impact will this hike have on students' parents? I will start from Mr. Elvis Nwachukwu. What impact will this hike have on students and parents, Mr. Nwachukwu?
Yeah. Obviously, more hardship, more hardship to those Nigerian families who have their wards in the universities. Disillusionment. loss of hope, especially for the low earning parents. For the students as well, it's for those whose parents are not earning sufficient money, it's going to be a struggle. Not justifying anything. These are the instances, the sort of instances that will lead our students to engage in all manners of behaviors that ideally they would not have had things just been all right for them. I mean, how do you hike school fees for up to 200%? It's just going to bring more hardship on the lives of the students and the families. I see a situation where some families may have to withdraw their wards or their children from the uni. You think about a scenario where possibly a family has 2-3 kids in the university, struggling to pay the existing school fees, and then to now add this sort of increment is just gonna it's gonna bring them to a point where they might say, look, is it really worth it for these kids to keep going? You can't, if you don't have it, you don't have it. So bottom line is what is just going to create more difficulties for Nigerians, more suffering, and possibly more depression. And as we see across board, it's not a good thing to happen at this time. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Nwachukwu. Mr. Shodimu, on the same question.
Yeah, paused. We can hear you.
On mute, please.
Okay. Now you can hear me. At the risk of repeating some of the things Elvis has highlighted, because these are very, very salient points he raised, I see a hike in dropouts. I foresee that. The situation wasn't too exciting prior to this. And how we came to this point, I don't know. Taking that the hike in cost of fuel and all that could lead to the cost of items and materials and all that. I thought this is an area that the word palliative should have come in from government. We knew this, and government should probably have sat with these institutions and fashioned out a way of cushioning this without necessarily heaping the difference. What's that word in economy? On the students and their parents. There is a lot of ripple effect this could cause. But we're watching. It's a very sad development. I had a chat with a parent last night. And you're thinking of a single mother who has been struggling to stay afloat and still trying to ensure that she keeps her child in school. Now this hike. Now she's had to travel to the location of the school now to pull out that child from the hostel and make a private arrangement for that child, which she feels could be cheaper. Right? She's going to look for a house outside for that child. And then she says the accommodation, the new cost of accommodation, as well as the feeding, will certainly not be anything close to what the school is charging. But now let's look at the issue of security. There's a degree of risk involved because the environment she's pulling the child away from is, in quotes, supposed to be slightly more secured. He or she is there with the peers. Of course, the risk of the cult and all that rubbish is still there, but at least there's a degree of protection. And if this is what is seen, if this is a representation of other issues out there, that's a problem. Now, I also have a problem with giving people 100 naira worth of rice as palliative, and then asking them to pay over 200% increase in what they pay for their schooling. It's not really making sense, because that's how I estimate this palliative thing. If you give a bag of rice to 100 houses, how much gets to them? Now they have to look for money for all these new things. I think it's a huge problem, and the government should not underestimate its impact. Now, finally, listen, students paid for a session. ASU goes on strike for 3/4 of that session. Nobody is talking about refunding the money to those students or their parents. They have to bear it. And now this. Dubai, I'm not sure. I think I should just leave it there.
Thank you very much, Mr. Shodimu. So I go to Dr. Vicky now. Still talking about the hike in school fees. Students in some of the universities like UNILAG and UNIJOS have staged protest and vowed to continue with their protest until a reversal of that policy. How do we get a middle ground in this situation, Dr. Vicky? Students are vowing not to return to classes. The university managements, they are not changing their position. There should be a middle ground somewhere. How can we get a middle ground in resolving this problem, Dr. Vicky?
The thing is, to get a middle ground, I believe the best thing to do is for things to go back to the way it used to be. It's already so difficult because no matter what the way you look at it, the money is still going to come mostly from the parents. The parents are already struggling. So this is just going to become too much. Looking at this, I can envisage there will be a lot of students dropping off. Everything is already very difficult, very expensive. Life is already, so too much for everyone. At the end of the day, they go to the school, they go to this uni, they come out. Where are the jobs? Majority of those who have been graduating for the last how many years, everybody are going into they're learning trade, they're learning so it's not like they're using whatever they've learned. So most will be dropping out. So how do you get to the middle ground, at least for these students to still have their degree, because you never know opportunities that may open. Things just need to go back to how it's supposed to be, because it's not fair. Yes, things are more expensive and stuff like that, but should this be on the students, and not just on the student, on their parents? Not fair.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Vicky. I'm sure we've spoken extensively on the subsidy removal as a policy in our past discussions on this program, and we've, without a doubt, looked extensively as that the overall effects in terms of the domino effects on other areas. As you mentioned, the parents are already stressed. paying, huge sum of money for petrol to get to work and come back. All other, commodities, food items, they're already skyrocketed in terms of prices. And now the same parents, they have to pay more money on school fees. Where would that money coming from? Especially when you consider an average civil servant in Nigeria, and even people working within non-government sector. How much should they really take up to be able to really have this money just to dig their hands into, to pay thousands of naira in school fees and buy fuel and everything? So there should be a rethink around that, by the government around that policy, because it's just more than just removing the subsidy. As we can see, is affecting a very important sector, which is the educational sector. I'll go to Mr. Nwachukwu now. Earlier in your answering one of my first question, you mentioned issues around dropout, and that is actually a concern that the National Association of Nigerian Students, NANS, they claim that the hike in fees will lead to dropout of students from public university. To what extent can we say this is true? Is it a bit of exaggeration on the part of NANS, like any pressure group trying to, just mount pressure on the government? Or on this, are they on the money on this in terms of the extent that this could lead to, dropout of students in universities? Mr. Nwachukwu.
Naturally, Wale.
On me, please.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yeah. Naturally, that's a realistic expectation. I mean, what do you expect where the minimum wage is 30,000 naira? Minimum wage is 30,000. If I don't know how many families are even in paid employment in Nigeria to be able to afford this sort of hike. The painful thing is we're getting all these hikes everywhere. Petrol price increase, school fees are going up, building material costs, everything is going over the roof. And there's no commensurate increase with the wages that people earn. How do they manage it? So the expectation is that, yes, there's going to be dropout. I was listening, I think it was in June, I came across an article and I saw it on social media as well, where students were not happy. There had been a 300% increase. The University of Ambrose Ali University at the time. And a lot of the students who granted an interview on that occasion were of the opinion that school is a scam. I wouldn't really focus much on, what the impact is going to be. I'd rather discuss where Nigeria should be leaning towards. I mean, we place so much importance, so much emphasis on education. Back in the days, you hear when somebody is looking for a job in the bank, you have to have a 2-1. You have to have a first class, a 2-1. That's the benchmark for you to get into the banking industry and all other industries. At the time, I don't know whether it's still happening now. But guess what? Look, because we're here, I'm always going to compare my home country to Australia, where I live. People go to school here, people go to universities, but your ability to get a good job or to earn income is not dependent on that university education that you have. I mean, I worked in an organization one time where I was the most educated person with a master's degree, and my boss, who was the MD, only had a diploma, but he was employing me. So I think Nigeria should start drifting. I've seen so many instances of where, like Dr. Vicky alluded to here, the students finish university education, they go back to start learning a trade. Maybe it's time to wake up and smell the coffee and start moving away. Just what do you do with that education anyway when you finish studying and you can't even find a job? Another thing to look at is even the quality of students that are being churned out from these universities. Do you know if a Nigerian was to migrate to Australia, for instance, today, Wale, our BSc is not assessed at the BSc level. It's something along the lines of the associate degree. What is it called? Yeah, I think associate degree, which is the equivalent of a 3-year university for a 4-year course of education here in Australia. So your 4 years there equates to three years here. So in reality, yeah, that's what's going to happen. People, in the case of, I forgot to mention something. In the case of the Ambrose Ali University, some students are like, school na scam, university na scam. And I want to start saying it that way myself. I'm not saying for some professions, like your medical profession, like, you know, what I do, yes, of course, you need the university education, but it doesn't have to be in all areas of endeavor. Australia here relies more on your experience, the number of years you put into the job, the training you acquire while doing that job, and then you can ascend to wherever. You don't have necessarily have to have a university education. So emphasis should be placed less on that university education and get people to engage in practical things, from their experiences they have, certifications and all of that. Yeah, so while yes, there's going to be an impact on the number of people that remain in school, and my view will be, let's focus more on all other areas and put less emphasis on this university education, because it's not, I can't see the good that is doing us at this moment. That's my view.
Thank you, Mr. Nwachukwu, with your honest assessment of that around education. And I've seen comments by the younger ones on social media calling it what we just said, that education is a scam. And if that's the way they say it, then where are we to really challenge that? It is their generation. If they see it as a scam, then it is what it is. But I think the issue is more around the need to have industry-focused form of education, in education tailored towards a particular industry. I think some of the curriculum and some of the degrees that is still issued out in our universities today, you ask ourselves, what is the impact of that in the 21st century Nigeria? Like some across all fields, be it in the arts and sciences, and it's everywhere that you ask yourself, what is the relevance of this? Even here, some years ago, about 2-3 years ago, government withdrew X, like the student funding for some social sciences and some arts courses. And they were very direct and specific. They move in the direction of STEM, science, technology, engineering, and maths. Saying that is the future of where they really want to invest. I think it's high time we wake up from reality and do what we need to do in terms of the education. Moving forward now, I go to Mr. Shodimu. Still there around that same hike. The president recently signed the Student Loans Act, just to support people with loan to further their education, like they had in the First Republic. How can this help in solving issues around having access to funding for students to be able to complete their degrees? Mr. Shodimu.
Permit me to say this, and for all those who care to listen, particularly the young ones, education is not a scam. Particularly university education is not a scam. It's just the way our own approach to it that is giving it that coloration. And I want to agree with Elvis that we need to put our acts together. We need to really tell ourselves the truth. Your question. You sign an act. The intention most times is brilliant. It is good. Even getting up to that point, it's been well researched. And if we follow the spirit of that act properly, it has very positive ways of impacting on that sector and our young ones. But then, how do we extract the Nigerian factor from it? The president has signed. He's not the one who is going to implement out there. Because before you know it, requirements for accessing such will come out, and you start asking yourself, what is this all about? Those are even requirements stated in black and white. The ones that are not stated there are even more embarrassing, because you before you know it, party affiliation will come into this thing. You'll be asked to go and get somebody from your local government to blah 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 to do this and do that. Party chieftains will weigh in and say their words should be given preference and all that. And that is where the problem comes in. Listen, there are 1,001 issues out there that are disincentives to young ones who will want to have proper education. Because in the young ones, that's apart from the fact that you go through all that exercise, you go through all those years, the extended years caused by strikes and all, you go through that and you finish and there are no jobs for years. Listen, you have a neighbor whose child graduated some 3-4 years ago, who is still kicking the streets looking for something to do. It doesn't encourage the parents, your own parents, it doesn't encourage you as a person, but that's one. That's one. That's a common one. But when you find young ones seeing dropouts, seeing drug peddlers, seeing touts, and people who have messed up the image of this country within and outside the shores of this country being elected or appointed into responsible positions, into high offices, it does not encourage these young ones to do this. They know this, they see it. The internet is there. They see somebody that has been jailed out there in Europe coming here with loads of money and winning elections and making laws for them or governing them. They see people who should be locked up getting big and fat contracts, and they ask themselves, why am I reading? Why am I studying? It becomes an issue. It becomes an issue. So when we now add these official logs to their will, it is disaster. And unfortunately, it's like sitting on a keg of gunpowder. Because when your youth are disgruntled, your future is at stake. In fact, your present is at stake. And for those who loot and think taking their children out there to study and then plan to bring them back to lord them over these unfortunate ones, I pity them, because the bubble may burst. One is not praying for upheaval, but we need to be careful. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Shodimu. I'll go to Dr. Vicky now. We'll see if you just join us, your number one show, the Nigeria we want. Send us comments. If you have questions, drop your questions. We want to make this as interactive as possible. We're discussing access to education in Nigeria, and in particular, we're discussing the recent hike in school fees by federal universities in Nigeria. Dr. Vicky, I'll come back to you now. Some Experts say the reality is beginning to dawn on Nigerians that public universities are no longer tuition free, despite the narrative by government. What is the danger of this for the country in terms of a country that people cannot have access? We cannot look back to uncles, parents that they were able to get the education due to the Awolowo policies in the First Republic, the free education. We can relate that to also with policy of the likes of Zik of Africa, in southeastern Nigeria, and some other great politicians like Abubakar Tafawa Balewa that were able to have free education. So, what will be the impact or the danger of that for Nigeria? The government is saying one narrative that education is free, but gradually they are increasing and introducing school fees, even to federal universities that are supposed to be tuition free. What is the danger, of this on the country, Dr. Vicky?
The danger is enormous. Academic system in Nigeria is already polluted. Is already, it doesn't leave good taste in the mouth, and it's been for so many years, which started with people, students struggling. We know studying here in Australia, you cannot compare it with studying in Nigeria. Studying here, it's more like a child's play. The amount of months that even weeks in a semester that you focus to study, probably all in all, you're looking at 4 to 5 weeks in a semester. In Nigeria, from the moment you enter like this, they make your life hell. You struggle from the beginning. There's no break, no jam from the beginning. The stress is from all angles. But here, there's that, you can focus, so education as that being, and it still is in Nigeria, is not a joke. They've always made it so difficult. And it's so unfortunate that majority of those that went through, that were able to access education because of the policies by Awolowo, by Zeke, and by all others that have, a positive mindset about this, that had this thing in their mind that let's make this free for all. And they did. And so many were able to take advantage of that. It's quite unfortunate that those people, most of them, they are in their 60s or late 50s now. They are the ones making these policies. They are the ones making it difficult for young ones to come up and have that education, which is so sad, that how could you have benefited in a policy that you are able to be this person that you are, you and your mates, and then you get there, instead of you helping to raise others up, you're creating barrier. What they do in all other sectors, they are doing it also to make education scarce, to make education something that is not meant for the poor, that is not meant for middle men, that it's only meant for rich people. That's where it's going. Because how many, those that are actually struggling to put, two meals, to eat 2 meals in a day, to eat 1 meal in a day, now you are increasing and increasing. Is it fair? No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. So you ask about the impact and the effect of this on Nigerians, or on in Nigeria. What I'm trying to get at is, by doing what they've just done, what it's going to do is to make education something that is not accessible to every ordinary men and women in Nigeria.
All right, thank you. So your point is very strong around, the education is the rights of everyone. It's
Exactly.
not an exclusive right of people from wealthy background that are able to have, well, many of the kids from that background, they are not in the public universities anyway. They are having their degrees
Yeah,
overseas, and they are the one in
or they're in the
all
multi-million naira private universities. So the little that is meant for those that are struggling, those people, you are now taking it away from them.
Thank you. Thank you. I hope someone is listening. The panelists are very strong on this topic, and the need for government to do the needful. Some of your uncles, even some of you that are privileged to be in position of power today. If you go back to about 2 generations, that background came from nothing, if not for the influence or impact of our free education, up to Olabisi Onabanjo free education when I was in my primary school. Many people would have made it beyond primary school, not to even talk of making it to secondary or university education. You need to make it there for everyone, because there are many people from very poor socio-economic background that have got good brains that could still make meaningful contribution to this country. Go to the Mr. Nwachukwu now, and we really get into the end of the discussion, and we still want to give a bit of time for interaction for our audience. We haven't had that for a while, if possible. So I'll just throw this to Mr. Nwachukwu, and just for a quick response. Why parents and students decry the increase in the fees? The university management said that it is the only way they can sustain quality education. What other options do the universities have to get funds? Mr. Nwachukwu. On mute, please.
Yeah, so the major source of funding for those universities, as you and I know, will be the federal government. And at the state university level will be the state governments. But obviously, there's a lack of funding thereof within those sectors. Hence, the strikes we've seen over the years, and then with the rising cost of living, the rising cost of teaching and learning materials. That's what the lecturers have stated. The market forces of demand and supply, and then the lack of funding. This is where the issue is. Now, back in the days, I also was aware of a situation where international students used to come undertake their studies in Nigeria, especially in UNILAG. I don't know whether that's happening anymore. I mean, like in Australia, where you and I live, we know how much international students pay in tuition, whereas the local students pay, a lot less with the government loan available to the students. So access education. So it would be a good place to start looking at, perhaps also trying to get our university educational standards.
Mr. Nwachukwu, I can't hear you. Can you hear me?
We've lost you, Mr. We've lost you.
Elvis, we can't hear you.
Mr. Nwachukwu.
We can't hear you.
Are you kidding me? I've been speaking to myself all this time.
Yeah, for about.
No, you be Elvis. You've been miming yourself.
For real? Oh,
you've been miming.
So I just give you 60 seconds to quickly summarize what you said in 60 seconds, Mr.
We had part of it.
Because of
all right.
time.
So part of it was, we used to have international students coming to Nigeria. that's a source of fundraiser. We see it in Australia here. It's more expensive for international students to undertake studies here, cheaper for the local students. You know, the government needs to step up their game. If they say, "Oh, these are universities," they need to fund them appropriately in order not to get the students to suffer what they obviously suffering right now. I've got 60 seconds, but I'm just going to use my 60 seconds again to touch on one or two things before. I'd like to clarify. So when the students say university is a scam, the meaning, in my view, the way I've assessed is what is the point in acquiring that university education when you can't get a job at the end of the day? What is the point? If you finish, you're going to now learn a trade. Now, let's remember, education is not just university alone. There's the basic education, your primary, your secondary school. You can read and write. You're educated already. Tell you what, the people that are making money in Nigeria right now is beginning to tilt towards what we have in the UK, here in Australia, and even the Canada and the US. The carpenters are making loads of money from building construction sites. Your plumbers, your electricians, they didn't have any university education. So if you have to finish studying and then you need to go back to learning the streets, you might as well just do it from the scratch. That's why these guys are saying it's a scam. How do I finish a uni education 4 years? I'm still going to struggle for food in my mother's kitchen. What's the point? I might as well go learn a trade after secondary school. Doesn't mean you're not educated, you know. So I thought I'd clarify that part.
Thank you very much. I go to Egbon now. Some experts. Sorry.
Go on, please go on.
Okay. Yeah, and this question is for you, Mr. Shodimu. Some experts say government should regulate fees in universities in consultation with stakeholders. How do you think government should go about this? So a few things there: consultation with stakeholders and also regulating school fees. How can government go around this, like consulting with stakeholders and ensuring that there's a sort of...
Well, the question has been answered already. Even within that question itself, they know what to do. These guys know what to do. It's when they want to play the ostrich and they go the other way. They know what to do. Consultation is consultation. There are stakeholders. This ego of it is our university, we run it. It's federal government property and all that. We need to have a rethink, because even out there are cooperations made between institutions and corporate bodies, even religious bodies, to make things easier and make things better. Nobody, in fact, in spite of this hike, nobody is talking about upgrade of facilities. It's still the old wretched and systems that are being introduced to our children as facilities in schools and all that. But yes, we should consult. They know what to do, frankly. One thing that I think we should also hint at, which we've not mentioned here today, has to do with our girl child. That really scares me. Before the introduction of this monster of a hike, we've had instances of girls being sent to school with nothing or very meager amounts. These same girls need to hustle out there, and they do a lot of unprintable things. They're out there, and even there are some students, girl students, that have to find ways of making money while at school and still send money back home. The system is as horrible as that. And unfortunately, these policy makers and those implementing are the same that will still take advantage of these same girls because of their level of poverty. So it is a red alert. it is a humongous problem staring us at the face. So as for consulting, government knows who to consult with. Listen, even in spite of all this, you still have licenses being issued to unknown individuals and bodies all over to set up universities. You find signboards in the middle of some ugly forests announcing the arrival of a university, and that is all there is to it. That signboard. Drive deep into the heartland. You find funny signboards all around. So university approved, and years after, it is still that signboard standing. Maintaining the ones we have not. We are putting in a lot more in terms of new institutions that may not fly, or if they fly, they are glorified institutions. Yes, put it that way.
Nursery school.
Look, we can go on and on about this. At times, these people give one headache, but it is okay. It's the Nigeria we want, and we'll keep talking about it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Shodimu. So before I go to the panelists now, just for 60 seconds each for your final words. My final words will be around, private-public partnership. It is everywhere. Even in the most advanced economies in the world, education is not free. We have to come to that realization. Yeah, I did studies here. I use X to study. I pay back. So we should start thinking along those lines. You get some scholarships here and there, but the advanced economies that we try to look or model, nothing is actually free, even in terms of education. It's a multi-billion-dollar industry. We've got to get that fact right and know that there should be need for public-private partnership, probably restructuring some of our courses. That is what they do. It's not completely free. I need thousands of dollars that I have to pay back on X, and I'm sure everyone in this room will have had the same experience as well for some of my postgraduate studies I did, later here. And also, part of it should also be the government, the private sector also, part of their, social responsibilities. You still get a ridiculous amount of an award that was awarded to a university best student, maybe in 1980, for 500 naira. People still get 500 naira award because that was what was awarded in 19 whatever. And they still do that to the best graduating university. I've seen a few of those, like online. How ridiculous can it be? In the same country, someone will go to Big Brother Nigeria and get millions of naira, and then get some, endorsement and get a house. So what is that, encouragement to someone who really wants to study and get a degree? So we talk a lot about government, but some of the corporate organizations, they also need to be a big player. That is how they need to pour money into research. That is how they fund universities there. If there are areas around their products, they put money into that, collaborate with the universities and put money into research to develop and design products. So that would be my parting words. I go to Mr. Nwachukwu now, your parting words for tonight. On mute, please.
Yeah, my parting words would be those who are in charge of writing the bills towards the student loan that's been introduced should do a good job of it. Not only that, what's the point dishing out student loans where the students don't even know where they're going to get the job from to repay those loans? So perhaps a lot more emphasis should be on job creation, so that when the students take out these loans, they'll also be able to find employment. They'll be able to find employment to be able to repay such loans. Because I've seen some of the conditions of those loans are that you need to have either as a lawyer who's been in practice for 10 years, a civil servant, at level 12, a justice of a peace, some other, and you need to be earning, your family needs to be earning between, I think, 5K and 500 500,000. Now, how many of these individuals will have access to such people that's been listed? You know, is this loan really meant for them? You've just mentioned Hex here. I don't think you need those conditions to access the loans, the student loans here. But the system has a way of collecting that money back from you, and you need to be at a certain income level before you begin to repay that loan. So if they're serious about it, it's not just, you know, I hope that money doesn't end up in somebody's pocket as it is common with other things that happen back home. You know, I hope it's not an avenue to enrich some people who are already up there,
Already fat.
impoverishing, you know, the ordinary man. So they need to look a bit more beyond these conditions and saying the additional loans. How are the students going to pay back that loan? So emphasis should be on job creation, and then we can get the other things right.
Thank you, Mr. Nwachukwu. Your final words, Mr. Shodimu.
One will appeal for a total re-evaluation of our educational system, more functional. I made an appeal via a video a few days ago about getting our young ones to produce something in factories all around, even if they are small items. Let's get them hands-on. Let them do practical things to produce. I used the example of producing chocolate bars, something as simple as that.
Yes.
Can we do that en masse? Can we do that en masse? And I mean, across, we don't necessarily have to wait till they even graduate, even at the secondary school level. Once they finish, can we do that? Can we catch them in that? And then finally, if we cannot have free education because of the economic situation, can we not please have strangling education? Those are my final words.
Thank you very much. On that note, I hand over to Dr. Vicky for our final words and to close the show. Over to you, Dr. Vicky.
Thank you, Mr. Wale Olaitan. Thank you for a great job, as per usual. Now, we've talked about, we've deliberated, we've talked, we've suggested, we've advised. And as I was listening to you all, I just remember when I was growing up, you know, when nursery schools, every corner, they started having nursery schools. Everybody wanted nursery schools. So everybody started opening shops, buildings, turning into nursery school. And I remember my mother, when they started this trend of private university, my mother said, the way they are going to turn university education into what nursery school used to be. That everybody now will be, and that was like almost 20 years ago. And exactly that is what is happening. Instead of giving all these people certificates, instead of approving all these fat, rich people who majority of them that stole, majority of them that got this money through means that they are not proud of. I mean, remember Adedoyin also had a private university. This was the same Adedoyin accused of ritual killing. I mean, so many of them like that.
More like convicted.
Convicted, sorry, not accused. Convicted
Yes,
of
it's
ritual
even worse.
killing. Many of them are like that. Churches are also doing these things. Instead of giving them permission, instead of allowing them to open universities as if they are opening nursery school, why not get them to partner with all these existing universities? All right, Deeper Life, you want to have your university, partner with OAU. All that money you want to put into reinventing the wheel, let's use it to, uplift this place. That will be doing the Nigerians favor. Instead of us, I mean, those that can afford it, that are now paying 2, 3, 4 million a semester. How many people can afford that? There are ways that they can do this and they can do it better. Elvis, or was it Wale, that talked about even partnering with rich people. There are rich people that will build. They will build, hall. They will build, lots of stuff. I mean, and that is living legacy. We have so many rich people. All they know is to chase girls. All they know is to have many, many wives. Nothing. And they die, they're gone. That's it. Nothing. We have universities here, the names that they have on that, all it's been there for more than 100 years because the man did well. The family sponsored, they built something. I mean, I went to one hospital. The whole hall was full of the man that built another hospital for that same hospital, honoring him. The man died over 100 years ago. There are ways we can do this, and we can do it better. Education is a right for everybody that wants it. It shouldn't be for only rich people. That's what they do for everything. They're not trying to do it with education. Enough is enough.
They certainly made it for the rich now.
Enough is enough. Enough is enough. I want to appreciate you, all the panelists, for for talking about this. Let's keep talking. It's the Niger we want, and we'll keep talking till we get the Niger we want. We appreciate our viewers. We've got a few people that watched, but no comments. But we'll see how we go. So we will be back again next Friday. We're back next Friday. No parties, do we? Mr. Wale?
Don't bank on it for some people.
Party deal, Dr. Vicky.
Don't bank on it for some people.
And that's my New Yam Festival weekend. So I'm gonna be under the pump.
Wow.
Yeah, we talk about that offline, please.
Yeah.
All right. We'll see how we go. I will be joining in. I will be there. I will be in the car. So we'll
talk about it offline, Dr. Vicky.
All right. So we'll be back again next Friday, same time, same place. But until then, you all take care. God bless. Bye-bye.
And I wish Elvis 5G consumption of the New Yam.
Yes, we will be there.
Don't worry.
We will be there to eat the yam with him.
All right. Okay, then.
Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye.
The Nigeria we want. Great Nigeria. Giant of Africa. The Nigeria we want. Great Nigeria. The Nigeria we want. With Vicky O, Yemi, Shodimu, Wale Olaitan, Elvis, Nwachukwu. The Nigeria we want. Great Nigeria, on Vicky O show. The Nigeria we want. Great Nigeria.